Hello friends. Today will be a really interesting day because I decided to do a call with one of my subscribers and followers. Thank you so much again for 5K. You have no idea how much I appreciate you for watching my videos and being loyal to me. So I figured what better than to do something that I've been getting lots of requests from. Set up a mentorship call, a Q&A, whatever, with a beginning designer and have them ask me questions on anything that they want that has to do with UX design. And so that's what I'm doing today. I picked out a subscriber and her name is Amanda, and I thought that it would be really great and a great conversation for us to have because she has a very similar background to me. She actually graduated with a biomedical engineering degree, which is what I started off with, and so she's now trying to transition over to UX design, which will be really, really exciting. And I think it's great that we have another potential designer that's going to join the design community. So I have a call to set up with her today after all my meetings at work. So I thought I would record it for you because I know that you probably have a lot of the same similar questions that she has, and I thought it would be really, really helpful. I wish that I could try to set up calls with every single person, but I have a full-time job, so I figured this would be like the best way I could try to do it to help as much people out as possible. And I really, really hope you like it, and I hope she likes it and it's helpful. We've got Amanda here, and she's one of my followers, subscribers, I guess, that reached out to me to do kind of like a Q&A. So you kind of just want to learn more about my background.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. Yeah, a little bit about me is my name's Amanda. I'm from San Diego, and I studied biomedical engineering in college, and then became, an engineer at a medical device company for a couple of years, and then switched over to project management. And then I just recently decided I wanted to switch to UX, and I thought Tiffany's videos have been spectacular in helping me out with the switch. So I guess I'm curious from your background. So you also did engineering, and I'm curious, what made you decide that you wanted to just switch? Was it just you weren't happy with your routine every day or your job, or what made you kind of intrigued by the UX field?
It kind of started in college, and I studied biomedical engineering in college. And I think already during that time, I wasn't super interested in it. I think that at the time I was really lost and I wasn't really sure exactly what I wanted to do. And I talked to my parents, and I was really good at like science, math, all of that stuff. And I think I chose biomedical engineering because I really wanted something that was stable, and I didn't really know what to do at the time. So then I graduated college. I did engineering from one of like my first jobs at this dental company, basically, and they were doing like I think medical devices for them. And I remember I was interning at the time, and it was really bad because I would just count down the hours until I got to go home, which wasn't a good sign. I know. Going in at like 8 a.m. and I'd look at the clock and I'd be like, oh my gosh, is it almost 5 p.m. yet? I don't want a life where I'm just like counting down the hours to go back home. And I always knew that I was super creative and really into doing like, I was really good at crafts. I liked like photography. I liked all these different things. But at the same time, I didn't think that I wanted to do a completely creative field because I was also afraid of like the instability, because I have Asian parents who always told me like, oh, the arts and design industry, those are not stable fields. And yeah, so I think that's what kind of scared me. But I had my sister, she had a friend who was really, really smart. He was also very creative. So he talked to me about how he was studying something called UX design, which I've never heard of at the time. And then I started looking more into it, and I did some research just like you. Like I went on YouTube. I read articles. I heard about other UI designers. So I went out and like talked to a bunch of people, and it sounded so like just like perfect for me because I felt like it was creative and it was also really challenging. So you still got to work with engineers. People told me that it would make pretty good money. It was really stable, and it was a growing field. So I decided to take a course on it just to see if I liked it. And I ended up really, really liking it. And yeah, the rest is history.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, that's literally my story right now. I think just making that jump is the scariest part. Did you ever feel scared of kind of like you built up your whole background in engineering and you built up all of that knowledge and history in it, and then did you ever feel like you're kind of throwing that away and starting fresh as, maybe a junior designer or whatever introductory designer you were?
Oh, totally. I was like, oh my gosh, I used all those years of studying engineering, like it went to waste or something. And I feel like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I had to start all over again. But honestly, I was just so unhappy at my job that I was prepared to start over. And I was okay with even taking a pay cut if I needed to. Like, I think I decided, I think that's like worth taking that pay cut just for a little bit so that I can try to basically pursue my dream. And I think that honestly, with like everything that I've learned, it sounded like a lot of people, at least UX designers, they came from so many different backgrounds. I feel like there were a lot of engineers that did UX that ended up going into UX design, and there are people from the business or psychology. You can wear so many different hats in UX design. And so the good thing is each designer has their own strengths and weaknesses. And so I think that that's kind of the cool thing about doing UX design is you can use like your engineering background or your psychology background or your graphic design background, and you can become a better designer by playing on those strengths. So I think it ended up being really helpful for me because now I work with a lot of engineers and I'm able to kind of understand like their language, and I've worked with engineers before and their personality.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I kind of also feel like with engineering, it's with designing products, you're also designing for the user in a way and trying to make it user friendly. So it still has its similarities with UX design, and there's that overlap. And I think that's kind of what I found the most fun with engineering, that I enjoyed the most. And I love that you said it's kind of about taking that risk because you are going to be doing that job for the rest of your life, or not the rest of your life, but until you retire, right? So it's like, why not figure out what you really want to do versus what you just went to school for? So I love that. And I know you did a boot camp, right? Which one did you do again?
I took General Assembly and I did their online boot camp. I know there's two different ones. There's the full immersive one, and then there's where you go in person. And then there's the online one where you kind of do it part-time. And I did the part-time one because I was still working at the time. So I only had so much time to commit, and I wasn't I'm such a stable person and I hate taking risks. So I I didn't want to quit my job completely yet before I even knew anything about the field. So that's why I did the part-time course.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I just started Career Foundry. Yeah, about 3 months ago. So I'm doing it part time. So I'm probably about a third of the way through the class, and I'm liking it so far. But I guess it has its pros and cons. It's like you feel like you're learning some really good content, but then I almost don't feel like I'm applying it in a career setting yet, like with an actual team yet. But what was your overall take on General Assembly and your boot camp? Did you think that it was worth it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that each week, I think there was like an assignment. So it was really great to give you like the basic UX foundations and fundamentals. And you had little exercises that you could do. And you could talk to the mentors each week to get their feedback on it and ask them any questions. So I'm like one of those people that like asks so many questions. I'm so annoying. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, so I think that that was helpful though. And the course is really great in helping you understand like the beginning, but I can't tell you that the courses are going to guarantee give you a job after. I think a lot of that is on you and what you learn and taking that knowledge and also networking like crazy and like just really making sure that like you do well in these projects and you can use them to put in your portfolio. Like that's super important. I guess it depends. Do you feel like you're learning a lot from Career Foundry and from the mentors that you like are talking to?
It has its weird ways with me. Like we read the readings every week or every day or something, and then you do like a 4 to 8 hour task on it. And I don't really find it very collaborative. Like you don't really work on a team yet, and you don't really have like peer-to-peer sessions. It's just your mentor sessions, and then your tutor grades your work. So I feel like you have to kind of go out of your way to get that extra experience. And I almost feel like a lot of pressure every day. Like, okay, am I doing enough, other things to help leverage that? I feel like we learn on paper how to design, but we don't really learn what good design is yet. Like we haven't really learned what the best practices are. And it's more just, here's how to create a persona, and here's what you need to put in there. But I think it's like once you get further along with it, I'll probably be able to test it out on people more and really learn what's good or not. So yeah, I'm just moving along right now.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think that definitely, I understand what you're talking about because they do kind of talk to you about like the perfect ideal path.
Yeah.
Like learning this, which is true, and that's like theory based, right? Like in school you learn like what should happen, but in real life it's not always the case. So I mean, you obviously learn on the job. There's things I definitely don't know and I have to look up on Google all the time, and I had to talk to the design team about, so that's why it's always great to have a collaboration, work with lots of different designers. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it seems like from company to company or project to project, they could totally have a different style. It seems like some are more, clean and sleek and Apple like, and then some are more just throw the information out at you, and it's just like too much overload of information, but that's just their style, I guess. So it almost seems like you just kind of have to like adapt to, once every project you get on.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's all experience, you know. I recommend you like creating your own projects, asking maybe even people who are thinking of apps, just like making mock-ups. That would be fun. And if you know the designer, you can ask them for their feedback and they can always give you really valuable feedback and you learn from that.
Wow. So you had a mentor in your program. Do you remember how, like, what you did in terms of your one-on-ones with them or your calls with them? Like, was there anything that you felt like you leveraged in terms of their knowledge, like getting, like having them teach you any concepts or just asking them random questions on your studies throughout the week? Or was there anything that you thought that they were
Um,
really useful with?
I think with them in the beginning, it was really difficult because I was still so new. And so I think that like if I worked on more design projects, I would have probably asked them for feedback more like, what other ways can you design or you can solve this problem? Like I design it like this. What do you think of this? They would probably give you feedback, but then it's always good to ask them like, what would be your way of solving it? Because it could be different. And so you might learn their thought process. And so that kind of helps you a lot. I think it was kind of hard though in the beginning with those mentors because you're probably asking really basic questions
Yeah.
um, and so I feel like the most I could have got from them was more like life, like real life questions, like how are they able to get their first job? Because everyone's journey is different, and that kind of advice. Or
That's
even
helpful.
if they
Yeah.
have people that you know of that are designers that they'd be open to introducing you to. That's like a great way to network too.
Oh, okay. And then, so once you were wrapping up your boot camp, how did you get your first job?
I took a lot of time to design my portfolio. So, because my sister had that UX designer friend, he was a huge mentor to me. His name's Alan, and he's super successful now.
Wow.
He was really really nice, and he actually like met up with me in person after I finished my boot camp, and would show me the projects that he worked on, and I showed him my portfolio. Your portfolio isn't just about pretty pictures, it's all about the
Right.
process, and you have to be able to back up your design decisions. I cannot emphasize enough how much the portfolio really matters, especially when you're starting off.
So would you say generally in the portfolio you'd want to have like something from your if you're in a boot camp, but like something from your boot camp and then like something from, that you came up with on your own or like your own case study
Yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah, like what kind of variety?
yeah, because it's so hard because in the beginning you don't have that much. But what
Yeah, that's the
me,
struggle.
and I think that's totally understandable. I think what helped me a lot is I was working at my company at the time, right? And I was doing engineering, but I talked to other teams, and I was looking at whatever projects, what do I have at my current company that I can leverage to put into my portfolio. And I remember like looking at their internal website, and I was thinking like this is really messy, and I feel like this can be a lot more intuitive. And so then I asked my boss like if I could take on another project, just like kind of like a fun project to do because I'm interested in like a certain field. And he was like, yeah, go ahead. If you want to do that, then you can do it. I'm like, okay, sure. So I literally treated it like a, a case study with the process that I learned from General Assembly. So I took screenshots of the old UI, and then I started like asking around and talking to users of the company, like, hey, do you
Yeah.
like this website? Can you find certain things? And so they would tell me things. I did like a fun card sorting exercise with them. And then I
Oh,
even did like a, yeah, so you kind of like, if you're like, it takes such little time. And if you're like friends with certain people, then they would probably be like, okay, sure, I'll be a
yeah. Everyone loves to help.
yeah. So yeah, so that's what I did. And I basically made a project for that. And I put that in my portfolio. And that was the main project all of the interviews asked me about because it was like a real world project. And so I think that really helped me with getting my job, my first job.
So, so then did your design, did they end up, did your company have the kind of like the bandwidth and the budget to implement that into their website or their software?
So they were working on it, but it was really, really slow. And so I didn't even get to see the final project at the end. And I think that's kind of something that's understandable because I got the job before they could implement it. So I was like, okay,
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of nice.
yeah. So I was like, all right. No, but I mean, it was like a work in progress. And even in interviews and people were asking me, oh, is this implemented? I was like, oh no, but I am working with the engineer right now. And we're talking about like how we can make these components real. And so that was okay because that happens a lot. And so I think it's understandable.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that makes sense. Anything that you really enjoy about, because there's so many different aspects of UX design, like what's your favorite and maybe what's your least favorite?
Oh, my favorite is, well, I love designing at my computer. And so like, I think that's always really fun to design mock-ups and doing the flow. I also really like collaborating. So I love like talking to the other designers and hearing their feedback and critique on my stuff or my designs because I feel like I learn from them. And then I'd say there's so much. I really like my job. And I like that it's challenging and creative at the same time. And I have a really good work-life balance. Like I obviously like to travel all the time. So that's like really
Yeah.
important to me. And I think the least thing I'd say about the project is that you have a lot of limitations sometimes in like you might design something, but you might think it's so beautiful, but it's not always going to happen because there's like engineer constraints. And so you're like, oh, dang it. Like, okay,
Mhm.
fine. I guess I won't do it that way. I feel like it would have been better if we did it this way, but there's only so much you can do. And sometimes it really depends on the people that you work with. They can really like make your life hell. So I'd say that
Yeah.
it depends on like there are some, I think you work really closely with product managers and engineers, and there are some product managers that are better than others. So if they're really good and they give you all the requirements needed and you really like and they're proactive with getting you things and it really helps.
No, this is awesome. And then what you said you enjoy, I feel like I completely agree. I also love just the whole vibe of the UX design world, like, and just tech in general. I feel like there's so much, flexibility and just, interactiveness and remote work is a big thing, which I love. And yeah, it just seems like such a really great environment. Everyone just is creative and it just moves a lot quicker than engineering because medical device engineering specifically what we looked into and biomedical engineering because it's like with that there's so much more at stake if you're designing and prototyping and it's such a long process. But I feel like with UX design and computer science, like there's more room for error. You can just redesign it, like you test it on users and then you just redesign it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just always like looking for, any way to just kind of learn from others. I've kind of tried networking and learning different tips from everybody. And yeah, it seems like you're one of the happiest,
Oh,
with the role,
thank you. That's really nice.
which is amazing. And it makes me excited because, yeah, I just think with like engineering and all of that right now, I'm just starting to just get bored or just kind of feel like it's not really that exciting for me anymore. And, it gives me peace of mind knowing that someone like you who was there is kind of looking, was kind of looking for the same thing and it became worth it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like I became such a different person when I transitioned to UX design. I was really unhappy before, and I feel like I was like pretty emo. I feel like I think that I was just like, oh, I'm so like everything sucks. Like nothing's exciting to me, and so it was really good. And I was always like, I don't know if I should take a risk because I'm not a risk taker. I don't like to change my career because I spent so much time on this. But as soon as I transitioned, I feel like there's like a whole new Tiffany that came out,
Yeah.
and that was really really nice. And so it was definitely a great investment. I totally recommend it to anyone. So that's just my path. Everyone has a different path. And I met some really fun designers along the way, and I feel like that made it really really lively too. And your coworkers, it really depends on your coworkers and who you work with that make you so happy and makes the environment so fun too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm already realizing as I'm going through with this class how much more I love UX design. Like when I'm doing my like day-to-day work, for my job, I'm like, oh, this is what I'm getting paid for. But, once I finally get to close that and open up my, UX textbook of, online textbook, like it actually is so much more fun. And like every time I do the tasks, I really enjoy doing them and, working on Canva and things like that. I think it's teaching me that it's the right path. So
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
so
that's
happy for you.
awesome.
I'm really excited. I really hope that you're able to like find a good fit for you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And so just last question would be, as far as kind of like roles for the first job out of, like a boot camp, do you think that most of the roles would be best suited for like a junior designer at a startup? Or I feel like it'd be probably hard to get a job at a bigger company when you don't really have, UX background yet.
Yeah, I would say startup is probably like the easiest because
Hmm.
there's not that
Especially with
competition.
connections.
Yeah, I think that like with the big companies, you could totally try if you like maybe start off with an internship first, but obviously with the bigger companies, there's a lot more competition. So you are probably dealing with a lot of other designers. Startups, though, I think are great too because you do learn so much, and because you are probably forced to wear like a lot of different hats, it helps. But there's pros and cons to each of them. And I personally have really loved working at like a medium-sized company because I I think like with bigger and like bigger companies, and I actually have never worked at like the Googles of the world yet, but I know that I've heard that they have like pods for certain things. Like there's some people only in charge of research and the only visual design
Hmm.
and all that. And
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds like it's great too. But like starting off, I think like the best thing is for me to kind of try to learn it all, because I do feel like you get a good understanding of
Hmm.
a full stack designer. And so I think it's really fun to be like a full stack designer, being able to kind of have the project from start to end. It's like really really valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true because it's like at a startup, you do have to wear those multiple hats and then you kind of have to do, the research side, the designing side, the prototyping side, and all of that. So you kind of get to learn it all. And then you think like once you get to that mid-sized company, then you can kind of hone in on that specific skill, whichever of those fields it would be.
Yeah. And I think also with a startup, if you're like a junior designer, obviously, if you're only working by yourself, then I guess you get some real life experiences, which is always great to add to your portfolio if you want to use it for another job. But also, if you have like one other boss that's already kind of had experience, you will learn a lot from them too. So, yeah, it's always good. I think it's great to do startup or big companies.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thank you so much for for everything. This has been really eye-opening, and it just makes me feel a lot better and more, even more excited about the switch, because I was having some doubts for a little bit, and you know how it is with the Asian parents and
Yeah.
everything, and trying to prove to them that this is, a good stable career, regardless of whether it's artsy or creative or not.
Yeah,
So
I'd say that this is probably one of the more stable creative careers. Also,
yeah.
I feel like you don't have too much to worry about. And you're kind of part of the engineering team. So if you tell them that, it kind of helps them feel better. You
Yeah.
kind of are really.
You're working in tech.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for reaching out to me. I hope, yeah, I'm glad that this was helpful for you. I hope you could take a lot away from this and apply it to your real life. But yeah, it was really great meeting
Yeah.
you.
You too. Thank you so much. And I'm also, just a random side note, my roommate and I are moving, and we're taking all of our inspo from your living room setup. I'm obsessed with your living room setup. So
Oh my gosh.
shout out to all of your designs and everything. It just, yeah, your apartment tour is so cute.
Oh, thank you. I wish my house was bigger so I can design more things, but I ran out of design.
Yeah. No, we'll be stealing a lot of ideas from that. So,
Well, yeah, send me
well, thanks.
photos when you're done.
I will. Yeah. No,
All
yeah,
right.
for sure. I might even ask you where you got your couch or any of that stuff.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Let me know. Just
Yeah.
message me. All right. I'll talk
Thanks so
to you
much,
later.
Tiffany. Thanks for
Bye.
your time.
Yeah, of
Good
course.
talking to you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.